BowmanDigitalMedia.com. Good morning, everybody from Southern California. My name is Ira Bowman. Welcome to Marketing Mondays with Ira, and my guest today, Holly McCully from Protocol 80. Welcome to the show, Holly.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. You are interesting for a lot of reasons. I think my guests are my viewers are going to really like you, but you, I think, are the first one I've had on as a guest who doesn't actually own the company.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're breaking some ice here, or like a ceiling of sorts. But anyways, I'm excited to have you on. In full disclosure, I met you at an Exit Your Way roundtable event where you were a guest speaker and you were talking about marketing things, which
yes.
I happen to love these things. And and I just thought, man, you would make a great guest on my show. Now, full disclosure, I'm booked out a couple months, so it's taken a while for you to make it to the actual venue. But I'm excited to have you here. I actually have some slide decks that you shared from that day, so we'll be pulling that up later. But before we even get into any of that, if those of you watching the show have never seen one of these shows before and you're like, Ira, what is this Marketing Monday? What is this thing all about? Well, it's a couple things. We want to teach you, we want to share with you marketing tips and strategies that will help you in your own efforts. I don't care if you're a job seeker. I don't care if you're a business owner. I don't care if you're a sales rep, customer service, whatever it is that you do on social media. We want to help you get more out of your efforts. Okay, so that's really the point of the show. And then, of course, because marketing is so diverse, I like to educate my audience and help them understand, maybe break some of the false pretenses that people have. So, like, for example, marketing isn't advertising, but marketing and advertising are related. Marketing and sales, again, not the same thing, but if you're doing it right, they do work hand in glove. So we like to educate. Holly, you are going to be a great guest. But before we get into your knowledge, I really would like to introduce you, because I have a feeling a lot of people don't know you.
Yeah.
So let's do this. If you don't mind, first question for you from me.
Okay.
And by the way, guys, if you have a question for the show at any time, feel free to drop those in the comment section. We love to take your questions, and we go first in, first out. So if you ask a question, we will answer it. Hopefully, if you get in soon enough, we'll have time to answer all the questions. Okay, so question for the show, drop them in the comments. I am monitoring Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We're live on all three. Okay, So Holly, first question for you for me is, can you tell us how you got into marketing? So when was the first time you thought about doing marketing for a living, and maybe from then to now, kind of bring us up to speed?
Yeah, so I would say before I knew I loved marketing, I knew I loved communicating. I've always loved reading and writing in English classes, all through, grade school into high school. And then when I was in college, I was a professional and creative writing major. So that was actually like a combination degree of journalism, strategic communication. So that was mostly digital and English. And then when I was a sophomore going into junior year, I began to take some marketing classes, mostly because at the time I was working at a restaurant. And my boss at the restaurant, she actually worked for a marketing firm in Boston, and she pulled me in to kind of help with some of her MailChimp email marketing to the restaurant's audience to tell them about new promotions and things like that. And I thought that was really cool. I really liked doing that. I liked structuring and putting those campaigns together. So that's when I first kind of considered bringing marketing on board with my studies. And then through my classwork, I went to St. Bonaventure. Through my classwork there in those early marketing classes, I was like, this is really cool and I really love this. And then my boss here at Protocol 80, Donnie Kemick, reached out with an internship opportunity to my school. And that actually ended up being extremely valuable. And that's how I kind of got my foot in the door at Protocol 80 as an intern in 2017. So that's kind of, I knew I loved communicating. I knew I loved reading and writing first. And kind of through that, I found my love of marketing.
It's funny. This actually doesn't surprise me. And by the way, guys, if you're looking at this and you're interested in connecting with Holly, it looks like we got a goal here. Let's try and get her to 500 by the end of the show. We can do that. As always, I want you to do one thing. Do me a favor now. If I give you this link, don't spam her, okay? Don't just send her a connection request to try and sell her something. And guys, this is not a dating site. I shouldn't even have to say it, but I'm going to. Okay, we're not here for that either. But Holly is a smart person. She's really, look, I don't bring people on the show unless they've proven their salt in marketing. So she's got a good marketing brain. She's friendly. She will help you on LinkedIn. She'll help you all over the place. But you got to promise, okay, send her a message. When you send her the connection request, say, I saw you on Marketing Mondays with Ira, or just say, I saw you on Ira's show. She'll know. Raise your right hand and promise me that you will not spam this lady, okay? Those two things. And look, I say it in jest, but I'm actually serious. It seems to be an epidemic. I hear it all the time from my female guests. Like, gosh, it's not. I get some cringeworthy messages in these things. Like, stop it, guys. You're embarrassing. Right? David Alto. I gotta say a couple things about David. First of all, David's been a guest on my other show, which I haven't broadcast yet, David. I feel bad about that. I have a podcast called Project Podcast for Project Help You Grow, which is my philanthropy. David was a guest, and it's not aired yet, so I need to get that up. I'm slacking on that, David. Right. But also, today, I am a featured speaker. I'm one of 3 on Derek's LinkedIn. It's Global LinkedIn Influencer Summit. And David was a previous speaker. So he and I share that in common. So David, thank you so much for joining us here. And I'm telling you, Holly, that you'll want to connect with David. He is one of my favorite network connections on all of LinkedIn. So
awesome. As soon as we hop off here, I'll have to check out that connection.
And he's given me grief now that I haven't made it live. But when I make it live, David, I'm going to make it. I will tag you. I'll make up for it. Welcome, Stephen from Ghana. We get people from all over the place, and I'm very excited about that. So, okay, so now that I've told you guys that you can't spam her, you need to send a connection request, let her know that you saw her on the show. Here is the link that you can connect to her on LinkedIn. Again, we're live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube, but most of the audience is going to come from LinkedIn and YouTube. So it's funny. I get most of the live audience comes from LinkedIn, and then I get actually more viewers from YouTube usually. Like last week's show, we broke 1,100 views.
Holy cow!
On YouTube, that's not bad.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Look, I find that the people that I really like, I see them a lot, and also, bald is beautiful. So we got that. We got that going for us too. I think it's better for boys and girls, but hey, I'm not going to say that girls can't go bald either if they want. It's the 21st century, right? We can do what we want. Okay. Yeah, so check this out. So you're whale watching. What's the quick story behind this? Why this?
Yeah, so my colleague Josh and I are doing a monthly show on the Sales Experts channel, and it's called Whale Watching. So that airs the third Thursday of every month. There's some links on my LinkedIn profile. Since you're all connecting with me, you'll be able to see it there and check it out. So that's kind of just another space where we've taken to conversing about marketing. So we answer a lot of questions regarding marketing, and we also just kind of try and tackle a topic each episode in both marketing and sales, and we try and bring in some practitioners. So we've had some really awesome guests of people actually doing these types of things. Oh, thanks for the endorsement. So that's what that is. It's our show on the Sales Experts channel, and we really enjoyed doing it. We really love the Sales Experts channel, so definitely shout out to them and all the good work they're doing over there. And tune into our show Whale Watching if you like watching videos about marketing.
Is it in here? Where do I find it?
It's actually, I think probably the easiest place would be to go to my activity. I kind of share the links to the episodes as they come up. Yeah, that's our little whale logo over there. Those videos right on my profile are actually videos that we did for Protocol 80 with some of my content production colleagues back in the day. So
look, y'all need to jump right here and smash that like button for me, right? Like let her know, like, hey, I saw you on Ira's show, right? Do me a favor. Let's help her out. Okay, so this one.
Definitely. Yeah, so I try and post when the new, when the new episodes are going to air and that kind of thing. So there's lots of links there. But you're pointing out somewhere where I need to optimize my profile. Maybe I need to make this a little bit easier to find.
Well, I'm notorious for helping people. That's my favorite thing to do, right? So I'll tell you the other thing that I love this feature section, and you've got it going on already, so that's cool. This feature section, a lot of people are not utilizing this right.
Yeah.
I just think this is a great place to highlight things. Like I don't usually do this. I don't usually bring up my own profile here, but I'm just gonna.
I think it's a great place to highlight things that you actually want to talk about too. Like those are the resources that I most want to talk about and chat people's ear off about,
Yeah, so like right here, this is what I'm talking about. So this LinkedIn Global Influencer Summit, I'm one of the speakers. It just happens to be today. There's 8 days of it. It's day 6. I'm joined by my friends, Paula Goodman and Tidia here. And we're just one of 24. There's 24 total speakers. So it's kind of a neat thing. But look, what did I do with this? I put this right here in my featured section.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I talk on this. This is a post I talk about. I own my own business, Bowman Digital Media. Mm-hmm. We had our best month ever in March, just this last
Congratulations.
month.
That's so cool.
We grew by 27% month over month of the best, the previous benchmark best. We grew by 27% more than that. So
that's incredible.
That's exciting. And then here, like I'm on a bunch of different shows. So I actually made something I call the Ira Guide. And then I'm a professional photographer, so I've got some information about my photography there. And so I just think that people are missing the boat when it comes to this featured section. Like website traffic building with Bowman Digital Media. A lot of people want more website traffic. You and I were talking before the show started about some of the ways that I'm going to promote Protocol 80 and this episode to help both our websites, right? Yeah. And that's the thing. I think, if you're good at something, if you don't have that in your featured section, I think you're missing out. So I don't want to coach people on LinkedIn here on the show, but I just want to give people some tips on how maybe they can help advance their own efforts. So if you want to watch that whale watching show that Holly was talking about, you said the third Thursday of every month, right?
Yep. So there'll be actually a new one this Thursday. What Thursday are we at this month? Oh my goodness.
It's the 12th, so probably it's the following would be like
next Thursday will be the next one. And if you're connected with me on LinkedIn, then you'll get all the posts that'll give you the links to sign up and catch it live and then catch it after it's live and all that good stuff.
There you go. I talk a lot. People don't always think I'm listening, but I'm always listening. So there you go. Okay, so let's do this. We talked about you and how you got into marketing. It really started in school. Then you internshiped at Protocol 80. So that's kind of fortuitous because now you work for them. So let's bring up their or your company business page. Again, you're not the owner, you work there. Yep. So here's your team. You guys have how many people working there? It's quite a few.
We have 13 total full-timers. right now
Okay.
in our team.
Yeah. So that's impressive. Okay. And you guys primarily work with manufacturing companies, is that right?
Yeah, we say that our kind of specialties are with manufacturing and healthcare technology companies, just because that's where we really have driven the most success for our clients over the years. That's kind of where our sweet spot is. But really, we think that we can help serve anyone in like, a B2B niche market with a long sales cycle is really what we think the perfect fit is with kind of the way that we can help consult and also just kind of the theories behind inbound tend to work best. So manufacturing, but we're definitely not limited to that.
Yeah, and you guys, okay, so I've talked to Josh before, I've talked to you before, so I know a little bit about it, but I always like to give kind of a profile because you're talking to people that maybe have never heard of you before or Protocol 80 before. So let's just do this. So, what is a good entry point for like your target client? You know what I mean? Prospect, I should say. So, a manufacturing company, maybe or maybe not, but if you're in manufacturing for sure, okay.
Yeah.
Does it need to be United States or can it be anywhere in the globe?
It can be anywhere in the globe. I think right now we're working only with United States clients, but I think that's mostly just who has come to us. I don't believe we're limited to that. So definitely worth reaching out to us if you're outside the United States.
I'm trying to build like a good profile. So if you're in the manufacturing space and the United States, you're looking really cool. Protocol 80 so far. Let's talk about size a little bit. What would be a company size as far as maybe number of employees, or do you typically work with people that have like one employee, or do you more work with people like 100 employees, or we're talking about enterprise type companies that have thousands of employees? What?
Definitely on the smaller side. Again, no limiters here. We've kind of run the gamut in terms of who we work with, but our clients tend to be small to medium manufacturing companies with usually one person, if not less, marketing teams for sure. And then the amount of people they have on their shop floor and stuff like that can, run as high as the hundreds, but it can certainly be smaller or larger than that as well.
Okay, so one thing that, and I do appreciate your answer about the marketing person being like one or none, because that's typically where Bowman Digital Media we work in that same space too. It's not usually about how many overall employees, although I typically work with service companies, not manufacturers. So for me, the overall company size is usually like 10 employees or less.
Yeah.
That's just my sweet spot. That doesn't mean I can't work with people that are bigger, and I have some clients. But if I'm building out a profile, the perfect profile is usually the smaller companies. In fact, I work with a lot of solopreneurs who are just themselves. So they don't know marketing so much. They want to get to that next level, so they hire me. Okay, so Protocol 80, definitely if you're in the manufacturing space, if you have one or less marketing folks in your suite, right?
Yep.
You're in the US. Okay. Now, does it matter? Have you found like a range of like revenue? Because I'm thinking smaller, so you're probably like under the $1 billion revenue mark, right? So like for me, what I've noticed is it's like usually 10 million or less in revenue. I don't know, for you guys with hundreds of people on a manufacturing shop floor, you're probably a little bit higher than that. I don't know if you said like 50 million, or I mean, again, we're not trying to disclude. I'm not saying you can't work with people smart. I'm just trying to talk about like your average client or maybe the sweet spot.
Yeah, I would say, I think you hit it right on the nose that would probably be about the sweet spot, kind of going over and under in both directions there. And also we kind of have a lot of different ways that we help serve different companies, not just manufacturing companies. So from like the size and type of retainer we're supporting to maybe they just need help kind of getting their marketing or their CRM work off the ground. So it definitely tends to depend on the type of services that we're providing as well, kind of what that revenue is, how big that company is. So it's kind of hard to say exactly, just because we do support so many different sizes and types of companies in different ways. But I would say you hit the averages pretty well on the head there.
Perfect. Okay, so you just hit a segue word for me, which is CRM. For those of you who don't know, CRM, contact record management. It's something that most, if you have a sales team, you typically have a CRM. Okay? Yeah, it's not an ERP. You should. You should.
That doesn't mean that you do.
Yeah, right. You should. And we're going to talk about this in detail here in a second. So, like in the manufacturing space, some people have an ERP. That's different than a CRM. Okay, so usually you go from none you incorporate a CRM, and then somewhere along the way you realize, hey, I need an ERP. Probably with what you've said so far, I'm guessing that the people who have an ERP system are probably a little bit beyond what you guys are dealing with on the sweet spot anyways, right? Because like
yes and no.
for me,
helped find also integration solutions for ERPs and CRMs for customers as well. So that's definitely something we've done before too.
and for those of you who are not familiar with ERP, Ira, what is ERP? Enterprise Resource Planning.
Yeah.
Is for the entire organization. So it's not just the CRM, it incorporates the CRM now. But it's also, the production side, the logistics side, the accounting side. Everything is incorporated now into this suite so that people in other departments can have a purview into what you're doing. Like your CRMs, a lot of them are SaaS based, right? So it's software as a service. That's what capital S related. I like to explain the acronyms because, again, people are watching Marketing Mondays because they don't necessarily know, and I don't want to make them feel stupid.
Absolutely.
What does SaaS mean? I don't want you to have to type that question. I'm just going to tell you. Right? Okay.
Absolutely.
So the reason why people go ERP is because they have realized the advantage of the CRM. But, like the people in production and the people in purchasing can really benefit from the information that's being input by the sales team or the customer service team in the CRM. However, usually because it's SaaS, which means you're paying per seat, a lot of times companies will limit the seats they buy to save the cost, so they don't incorporate the production staff, the accounting staff into the equation there. And then you could say, well, I have a forecast. This happened to me right before I got laid off at the last company I was working for, which is ARC. So it was a giant print company. I was working on a deal for a lot of sneeze guards because COVID had started. And I was going to require all acrylic. And we use acrylic all the time in that particular company. But this is a large order, and there was a run on acrylic. So even though I had built my forecast to include those materials in Salesforce, they weren't using an ERP. So the people in operations nor the people in purchasing knew that I was working on this big deal, even though I had it set at forecast of 90%, which means it's going to happen, right? So when I placed the order, I used traditional turn times, and guess what happened?
No one knew. It didn't work.
Wish we would have known, but we don't have that. We don't have that on hand, and there's a run on this, so our suppliers don't have it either.
Right.
So I'm sorry, but you're going to have to push out that turn time. You know what I mean? So this is how it all, in reality, it all works. Now you guys are people. I know from experience what the program is, but I want to let you talk too. So tell us, the CRM that you guys recommend is?
We work with HubSpot primarily. We're a HubSpot Platinum partner. We find that does have enterprise services as well. Not a must to, invest that heavily in it, but that is an option for those larger companies that are out there and looking for those kinds of solutions, like you mentioned. We find it integrates really well with some homegrown CRMs that some smaller manufacturing companies or any type of companies might be using. So that's what we use. So we do practice what we preach with that. And that's our focus.
I use it too. In full disclosure, I use HubSpot, and don't gasp now, I use the free version.
That's great.
You don't even have to pay. So the things that I need it to do because of what I do, the free version provides.
Yeah.
So, but it increases because I'm not a one-man band. I actually have a team of 4 people that I work with. And so everybody has access to the HubSpot information. And when they communicate with the clients, they put that in the HubSpot, which is the very first step of the CRM, is just increasing the communication. Now, the other one that I know really well, and I've used it a lot like I said, when I worked with the larger companies, I had Salesforce. So those are the 2 that I'm most comfortable with. But there's lots of CRMs out there. I actually had a client for 1 month called Ideal, and Ideal is a CRM. Now, they have a very specific, I use the word niche. I know everybody calls it niche. I know, it's the same word. It's just a niche. But I'm old school, and when I learned it niche. So you can twist that to niche if it makes you feel more comfortable. Same word there. But there's lots of them out there. So you just find one that fits. But do this for me. Just give people maybe a minute or so of what a CRM, what's the benefit? Okay, you're going to deal with a lot of clients who don't have a CRM,
Yeah.
right? And you're going to explain to them the value, the benefit of CRM. Let's just talk about that for a second. Then I'm going to switch over to those slides and we'll go through those.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think especially this became really apparent in 2020 when legacy sales teams weren't able to kind of fall back on some of the techniques that they had been using in terms of dropping by people at their offices and also just communicating inter-team, realizing that if that's all on a homegrown system and you have to be in the office for it, that doesn't work really well. Something cloud-based is much more ideal when you have everyone working from home. That's certainly very huge, is that streamlined communication that you can do from anywhere. You can grab your information from anywhere. And for us as a marketing agency, the other really important part of a CRM, of a really good CRM, is kind of closed loop reporting. So if you have a blog, if you're doing social media, if you're doing email marketing, you can see kind of the touches that your contacts made all down the line, and you can really attribute those sales to the proper channels. And so that's really important to us as well. And that helps us make better marketing decisions. We can see the types of pages that good leads have seen instead of just assuming like, oh, this is getting a bunch of traffic. That's awesome. But maybe that traffic isn't meaningful if it's not pulling in anyone that's actually giving sales at that. So being able to track all of that, report on all of that, report on quality. And then as I mentioned, without being able to drop by customers in person and things like that, having tools that give you a more personal way to log notes, like, hey, such and such had a baby, I want to follow up with them. Like that kind of stuff can really live in a CRM. And something my colleague Josh always likes to say is if someone on your team won the lottery and moves to somewhere exotic and fun, never to be seen again, would someone else on your team be able to step in and reasonably understand what they need to about that person's customers, that person's contacts? So that really is the value of a CRM, as well as being able to kind of go in and anyone can access that data, see that data, and give that level of care to your customers that you would want them to have. So that, I think that was over a minute, and I'm super sorry, but I'm not known for being brief.
No, a lot. Actually, I didn't want to interrupt you, okay, because I wanted to give you time to speak and get it all out, but you said a lot. I mean, a lot of very good things there. So I just want to rewind for a second. And David's got a good point, and I want to bring this up too. Even solopreneurs should be using a CRM. The very first thing that you said that caught my attention, and I wanted to say amen, but I didn't want to throw you off. So, and I'm a church guy. For those who don't know me, I go to church, so I say amen a lot. But anyways, the activity level that you're doing or the activity type that you're doing doesn't always garner the most views or the most engagement, but it can be the most effective in garnering actual business.
Yes.
So one of the things that I have to educate my clients on, and I have a feeling that we're doing a lot of the same stuff here, Holly, which is totally fine. We have to educate them on that difference. Like, I know that I call it vanity metrics.
I was just going to say, those are vanity metrics, but I didn't want to cut you off because you were so nice to me. Vanity metrics.
The vanity metrics get people hot. It gets them excited. They get turned on by it, but ultimately, by itself is nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Like the fact that, look, David's here. David's given me like 5 or 6 comments in this episode. He's watching the episode. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of, people commenting, but David and I have a relationship. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can call him on the phone. He can call me on the phone. You know what I mean? I know him. I don't feel like if I get anything from him that it's a spam, even if he is trying to offer me a service, because I know we have that relationship now.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if anybody watching needs a resume written, you need some career advice, David Alto can help you out. Just saying. Okay. So, but here's the point. If I put a post up, and I did yesterday, I had a post with 17,000 views on LinkedIn. But I didn't get one single, like, I want to buy your stuff from it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had a post earlier in the day. There was 3,500, if I remember right, views. Okay. Something like that. It was under 4,000. Anyways, whatever. But that one, I actually got a couple of private messages. People wanted to book my service.
Yeah.
Which post was valuable? Which post was better? Which post was better? The 17,000 is not without value.
Yeah, of course not.
because it helps keep you top of mind, and more people saw me. So I'm not trying to slight that post,
Yeah.
but now I can have a blend because I could start to, especially if you see patterns when you
yeah.
your CRM, and now you can say, oh, look, every time I do this type of post, I get 100,000 views, I get 10,000 views, I get 500 views, whatever you're getting.
Yeah.
Right. But you're getting that, but you're not getting any business from it.
Yeah.
That's popcorn. That's just popcorn.
Right.
Now your meat and potatoes are the ones where you're doing something and you're getting some business from it. And like it used to be, we used to talk about this all the time. It took 7 physical touches between first meeting somebody and getting business in the print space. I used to analyze that, and I only knew that because of the CRM. Thank you very much. Right. So from the first time me or one of my staff would meet with a prospect, from the first time to the time that we could expect an actual, real order to come through, we needed to meet 7 times. I only know that again because of the tracking, the data. So if I only did one at one time and it didn't work, I could have just easily said, well, that doesn't work.
Right.
Cold calling is not effective. Well, that's not actually true. Cold calling is effective when you follow up.
Right.
Pay dirt. Right. Now on social media, I'm going to tell you guys a tip. Holly, you may not even know this. I don't know. But here's a tip for me to everybody. 22. Double deuces. If you will engage with somebody 22 times, that's a prospect of yours. The odds are that's when you're going to start to see business from them. It takes more than 7, is what I'm trying to tell you. It's 3. It's 3 times more plus 1. But it's an easy number to remember because it's double deuces. So there you go. That's what it takes for me. Now, it might take you a little bit more, depending on the industry you're in, but that's marketing. We're both in the same space. So there you go. Right? But 20 times, that's me commenting on their stuff. That's them commenting on my stuff and me commenting back, replying. You know what I mean? That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I'm not talking about send you spam 22 times. Nope, that's not what I said. I said interact, engagement, positive, professional, rapport building engagement on social media. Don't care if you're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, blah, blah, blah. You fill in the platform 22 times, do that. Now people start to figure out that you're a person, not just seeing them as a potential customer. And then it becomes like, hey, I want to do business with my friends. I want my friends to do business with me. Like if you and I become friends and I know you do something that I need you to do, doesn't that make sense that you would want to, send your business my way? I think it does. Like that's how I justify it. But anyways, okay. So that was the very first thing that you said about the CRM that I wanted to go, boop, let's park right there. We parked, we talked. Anything you want to add on that? Now that's just the tracking of the data so that you can analyze the data, which we didn't actually really talk about. Somebody does need to come and run a report and go, okay, these type of activities. So the reporting function is huge. And HubSpot has spades, so does Salesforce. I think all good CRMs have that. But the other thing is, now we're going to talk about this. This is one thing you didn't talk about, but I do want to talk about it. That's important. You're a sales manager, customer service manager, maybe you're a VP of, sales and marketing. You don't have to ask your staff what they're doing or about their pipeline if they're using the CRM correctly, because they're importing the data, they're logging their opportunities, and they're keeping that up to date. So now you freed them up from them stupid meetings that nobody wants to attend anyways, where they all feel like they're on the firing line, right? Like, what did you do this week? What did you do this month? What sales did you close? What sales are you going to close? How soon are you going to close? Or you had an opportunity that was listed for May, and now it's been bumped back to July because of COVID or whatever. Like, you could communicate all that so much faster and more effectively and don't have to have all those stupid meetings. Right?
Definitely.
So anything that I missed there on that part?
I think one of the things I was thinking of kind of as we were talking about vanity metrics and things like that, just circling back to that a little bit, is I think that's kind of the elephant in the room between marketing and sales, whether it's an internal marketing team working with a sales team or an agency working with a sales team, is I know that sometimes there's that thing where it's like I come to you and I'm like, yeah, the website got 10,000 visits last month, and sales is like, what did that do for my bottom line? So I think also having someone who can look at the data, whittle through those, and not only someone to do it, but also a way to log that data is incredibly important to make marketing effective. Like, I'm the first person to say that, yeah, traffic to your website's great. Of course, you can't get good leads at all if there's no way for them to get there, if there's no traffic channel, like all of that fun stuff. But also, I think it's really important to acknowledge that, you know, you kind of have to actively be weeding through that data and actively figuring out what's actually working. And that's how you get sales and, you know, the C-suite to actually buy into your marketing activities. And I know that's just a huge hurdle that a lot of marketing people go through, kind of checking the boxes, doing the right thing, and proving it to people. It's so helpful when you have that data where you can turn around and say, actually, that awesome deal we just closed came through this specific blog post, and we're writing 3 more like it. That kind of stuff, I think, can be so impactful, and I think is sometimes a little bit overlooked when it's just like, yeah, but marketing hit a really big goal. Okay, but what does that mean to sales? What does that mean to the bottom line? Making sure that you track that data and, you know, interpret it and explain it in a way that makes sense to sales.
It's 100% accurate. In fact, I have found companies, clients using CRMs, which, by the way, quick poll, live poll, are you using a CRM in your business? Now that we're talking about it, right? So the answer for me is yes. The answer for Holly is yes. We're using the same one. We're using HubSpot, different versions probably.
Yep.
I'm assuming they're not on the free version, but I am. So anyways, so whether you want to pay or you want to do it for free, you can get started. But one mistake I found, people aren't, there are businesses that have CRM. They're using CRM. They don't have their marketing folks with access to the CRM. I just find that mind boggling. Like, why the hell would you give your marketing access to that information? Because marketing and sales, it's funny. It seems like a lot of companies set it up where they are rivals in a sense, like they're step siblings.
Yeah,
and it's the furthest from the truth. They really should be twins. They should be working together. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this and figure out what you need to do and come up with the campaigns, and you're gonna execute the campaigns, and then we're gonna analyze how the campaigns went. Then we're gonna reformulate some adjustments and give you better tools to get out there and do your job even better, so that you don't have to spend your time trying to figure this stuff out. So you can just do what you're good at, build relationships, answer questions, and bring people to the table. I mean, that's how it should work. If you have CRM and you have at least one person in your sales team, or sales, and one person in your marketing, so you have somebody doing both roles that are different people, give them all access to the CRM. Please, that's one thing that you can take away from the show and help you better.
And I also think if you're someone in marketing who's just kind of getting started, if 2021 is your year to really kick up your marketing efforts and that kind of thing, I think one of the best places to start is actually with your sales team, figuring out with them what kind of questions they're answering, and what the way that they're talking with customers. That's where you start with your content. That's where you start with your marketing persona building, that ideal buyer profile. Like, all of that starts with sales. And if you start that relationship on that good foot, that's like, hey, we're building our strategy based on what you're saying, I think that really helps it start on a healthy note. So whether you're starting from scratch or revamping, I think that's a really good place, to your point. Like, let's not fight with each other. Like, let's get to the basics and try and help each other. And really, that starts with marketing sitting and listening to sales and what they know about their customer.
I was in a meeting this morning with one of my clients, and we had done this exercise about a year ago, maybe 15 months ago, actually, where we did a profile on what we thought our target prospect was. And then we created a campaign that we have been rolling out and executing for the past 12 to 15 months based on that target audience. Today, we analyzed the data. We were a little bit more reflective than looking into the future. We were looking into the past, right? So we're looking at the reports, looking at the profiles of those that we actually are serving over the past 12 to 15 months. And what we found is our avatar was wrong. A little bit younger than what we thought. Some of the vertical market assumptions were off. Now, that's based on real data now. Again, what you're saying, what I've said, so we're both saying what we're saying is in concert with each other. Now we can take that real-time data and go, okay, now that we know it actually looks like this,
Yep.
we can build a better marketing vehicle that will help our advertising. Maybe we have to make some adjustments in our branding. And our sales team for sure can start profiling for a whole different set of folks based on where we found our success.
Yep.
And this again ties us back to the types of posts that you're doing, or if you're doing calls on the phone, or you're doing blog building, you're doing all kinds of activities. It's not just social media, right? Social media is one part of the stool, right? If you got a stool, the legs that hold up this stool called your sales funnel, basically, they're all supported by these different activities. So you start to track, like, okay, how is my handwritten letter campaign working? How is my newsletter doing? How is my email blast with MailChimp or wherever you're using, right? My SMS campaigns, how is that doing? My lead gen, how is that doing? We all have these lead magnets and all these other things. Like, how is all that doing? And then when you start to analyze that data via these reports, you can start to go, oh, you know what? We're getting 25% more results on the lead gen, or I'm sorry, the lead magnet than we thought we were going to. Let's do more lead magnets. We invested a little bit more effort into these lead magnets. Well, you wouldn't know if you didn't take the time to track all this data.
Yeah, definitely.
Really, what marketing is, for everybody who doesn't know, is data. We make hypotheses when we don't have data based on historical studies that we can grab. We make hypotheses, then we execute, then we observe how that went. We formulate new hypotheses, create a new strategy or an augmented strategy. We implement that, and it's repeat. That's what marketing is. Marketing isn't pretty pictures. Marketing isn't, creating videos. People create videos based on our marketing hypotheses, right? When we create these plans, these playbooks for people to execute, other people execute the playbook. We come up with the playbook in marketing, and then we
do it all.
we analyze the data, but that's traditional marketing, right? The rest of it, we're stepping out into other areas. And at Bowman Digital Media, we do too. We create videos, we do photography, we write press releases for people, we write blogs. Why do we do that? Because people need those things to implement the marketing strategies that we've developed. They go, I don't know how to write, or I don't know how to create a video, or I don't know how do you do SEO? How do you have a SEO optimized website? So those are services that we provide. But the reason we provide them is not because that's marketing. It's because marketing said we need that. We didn't know how to get it. So that's a branch of our business that we offer to incorporate the marketing itself.
And I think that's kind of why it's difficult to say, the exact types of companies and sizes and ideal and stuff like that, just because we really do try and tailor to what someone needs, and that's based on data. So when someone comes on, we look at their current performance, whether it's nothing or whether, we're stepping in to take over something that's already successful. And that's why it's so hard to say, like, I wish I could give everyone silver bullet marketing strategy tips and be like, okay, take this and run with it. I wish I could give that to everyone, but it's so different. There's such different tactics that need executing, and it's just like you said, it's all data. It all comes from, it's not magic. It comes from, a database strategy standpoint.
I love what you said there about the magic bullet, because it's so true. I get people who go like, okay, I have a domain authority of 3, domain authority of 12. I want to be at the top of Google results when someone searches for insurance in the United States. I want you to do that for me in the next 30 days. How much is that going to cost? And I just fall out of my chair laughing. I'm like, you have no idea what any of this actually means, do you? But that's cool. Let me educate you, because this is a marathon, not a sprint. And there's a lot of work. And frankly, you probably don't have the budget to do that anyways, because insurance in the United States is a large.
We'd have to overhaul Wikipedia to make that happen. That's always kind of what I tell my clients when they want a really broad keyword like that and they're in kind of a niche industry. I'm like, okay, if you want to rank for metal, we're probably going to have to perform some type of digital heist on Wikipedia and Amazon, because
you better get about 40 million backlinks in the next 30 days.
Yeah.
Because if you do like an SEM rush on Google. I did that the other day, by the way.
Yeah.
Domain authority right now for Google is not 99 like it normally is, 98 according to SEM rush. So that's interesting. But they have billions of backlinks. Billions. So if you really want it, that's what it takes. What does it take, right? You need an SEO optimized website. What does that mean? Let me help you guys with that. SEO, search engine optimization, since we're on that topic real quick, right? So you need to have a website that loads fast, first and foremost. Speed, because your bounce rate will be super high if it takes more than 3 seconds to load. You just have to have a website that loads quickly. So don't load a bunch of native videos, guys. I hate to say it.
Or giant images. If your logo is 4,000 pixels wide, it's too big.
Make sure you take those and shrink those down, like when you're designing for websites. 72 DPI, make it a small size, like 500 by 500 size. I recommend 512 by 512 for most things because it's a nice square, loads perfect in almost everything. If you want to do like a 600 by 300, but make sure they're small. I am in the photography business. I take really good photographs. I mean, so big that you can't even email them big. But the fact is, those don't go on the website. I shrink everything down for that reason. Okay, now the other thing, you need content that actually says what you do, and you need tons and 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 tons of it. And by the way, keep it coming. So make sure you have your slugs right. Make sure you have your metadata right. Make sure you have good attention-grabbing headlines. Make sure you've got your titles right. I mean, your website, all the links got to work. Try to keep the spam down. Don't have all the pop-ups and blah 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 blah. Right? Because user experience is now part of the deal. And by the way, did I mention you need content? Okay. Other than that, you also need backlinks. What's a backlink, Holly?
A backlink is a way of predominantly increasing your domain authority. So basically what that is when you, as a reputable news site or a reputable site with, kind of new, maybe not a lot of visitors, someone who's also reputable, like maybe Bowman Digital Media, shouts you out and gives you a link, and Google says basically, hey, these guys must be pretty legit because this legit site is shouting them out, so I'm going to give them a little bump in rankings. So it's essentially just a way, it's kind of like word of mouth, but through websites.
It is. So here to make it really simple for people, this is the nickel answer, okay? A backlink is a website link from any website to another website. In fact, it can even be an internal link to your own website, but it basically takes you, it's a hyperlink, right? You guys know what hyperlinks are. You click on it, it takes you somewhere else, okay? So if you get hyperlinks or backlinks is what we call them from Bowman Digital Media, like you said, over to Protocol 80 or vice versa. We talked about that. You were going to do me that favor. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. That's win-win. But yeah, when we get indexed by Google or by any of these other bots, they're going to say, hey, I didn't know that Protocol 80 was so valuable of a service that another marketing agency would actually recommend another marketing agency. That's like super strong. The other ones that if you're chasing backlinks, government ones are phenomenal, and also like education. So if you can get a .gov or a .edu to shout you out, that's like liquid gold, right? So, but anyways, those are backlinks. You need this. So those are the things that you need, like the 5 things that you need: site speed, data, lots of data. You need a good user interface, something that works fast. You need non-scraped data. So it needs to be original content. That's the other thing. You want to minimize the pop-ups, the delays. The user interface needs to be clean. And then you need those backlinks. If you get those things, and your keyword, obviously, because let's say metal. You said metal earlier. For metal. Well, you better have a lot of things about metal on your website. And by the way, you might want to not just say the word metal. You might want to use all the different terms for metal, which I don't know.
Totally.
I'm not an expert in metal, but I'm sure there's, like singular, plural, future tense, past tense, specific types like aluminum alloy or steel or iron. I'm not a metal guy, so I don't know. I'm actually impressed. I pulled those out, right? But you might do like precious metals too, right? Like gold and platinum. So anyways, you'll have blogs about that. Then the other thing is guest blog on other people's websites that have something to do with metal,
Mm-hmm.
and then get them to link back to your site.
Yeah, the only note on that I want to mention as well is, because sometimes we have clients ask us about this, is there is such thing as like toxic backlinks. And
Yes.
that's something, if you do have something like an SEM Rush or another kind of SEO auditor that
You need
you're
to disassociate from those. Yep.
yeah, you have to disassociate those. So I will say, like, the more backlinks, not necessarily the better, the more healthier
They
backlinks.
need to be healthy. Yeah, and that's why SEM Rush and tools like it, because there are other tools you can use. Some are free, some are paid, right?
Yeah.
So, but the fact is, you need to check that, because you can go from a 50 to a 20 just because of toxic backlinks. I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
So then you go and you clean those up, and you have, let's say, 10,000 less backlinks. So in this particular website, there was 151 point something thousand backlinks. We dropped over 10,000.
Mm-hmm.
TA shot back up.
Yeah.
It was at 50, and went down to 22, I think. We cleaned it up. That was the only change we made. Next month, it was back up in the 50s. So it does make a huge difference. What is a toxic backlink, Holly?
Similar to what I was talking about before, where Google will be like, hey, you're a great website, you're a great website. It's kind of like one bad apple ruins the bunch type of thing.
Yeah, it's the opposite.
If they're a black hat SEO website, or basically that's just a term that means someone who's doing something shady and trying to pull a fast one on Google. Pro tip, you'll never pull a fast one on Google. They are pulling fast ones on us, and that's the way they like it. It's basically just a crummy website who, for some reason or another, is linking to your website, and then you're kind of getting pulled down because Google's saying, hey, these websites know each other. I'm going to strike both of them and not let them rise up through the ranks, because I don't want my precious users to go to these crappy sites.
Right.
So it's Google trying to protect us users from bad sites, basically.
And here's the deal. Like anything, guys, that pornographic, obviously that should be a no-brainer. But think about it this way. Like, if you click on a link and it takes you to a place where you're like, you get 15 pop-ups, or it's nothing but ads, or it's nothing but clickbait.
Yeah.
Nothing but scrape data. So scrape data, I've used this term a couple times. Let me explain it real quick. Scrape data is content that isn't written by that particular source.
Yeah.
It's borrowed from another source. So they have a bunch of content, but they didn't write any of it. That's also a bad influence site. So think about it this way: if you treated the internet or websites like neighborhoods, if you find yourself in a neighborhood that you don't feel safe, or you wouldn't want to bring your mother to, then you don't want a link from that site to your site, right? So you got to keep them moving. Most websites you're going to come across to in your everyday experiences are going to be good sites, and a link from them is wonderful.
Yep.
But again, if you feel like you got to lock the doors when you're driving through the neighborhood, hit the eject button. It's better not to be associated with them. All right. You have got a couple of things that I want to share. Time is flying by. So here we go. I want to bring this up. This is something I think can help a lot of people too. And we haven't talked about this on the show at all, as far as I can remember. So this is virgin territory for us.
Cool.
Social distancing without sales distancing is a challenge a lot of people have been facing over the past year, obviously. So let's just scroll through this. If you have anything that you want to talk about as I scroll, let's do it. But some quick we don't need that.
Really quickly, this was a webinar I gave in actually April of 2020, so about a year ago now. But I think this whole pandemic has lasted a lot longer than any of us thought, and I'm still seeing our clients suffer from trade shows still being canceled into 2021. So I think a lot of the stuff in here is still incredibly valuable. I didn't think we'd be looking at it a year later as a resource, but I still stand by everything that's in here, unfortunately. But this is still kind of the sales environment that we're in right now.
I second that too. So with Project Help You Grow, I had people when it first started, so it was March and April and May of 2020, people saying, hey, should I just wait until COVID's over to find a job? Because everybody, hey, it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve, suckers. That's what we were told, right? Like, I've done my 2 weeks and then some. Give me But here we are. Okay, so re-engaging old contacts just right off the bat. Oh my goodness, this is so smart. Again, CRM helps with that, because sometimes they're not top of mind. Let's just bring it all together.
I have a fun tip I just executed on that. Can we talk about that briefly?
Yeah, let's do it. Fire.
Okay. I know that later on in the slides, there's a little bit more about this topic, but we're still doing this now. As I mentioned, with trade shows being canceled, something that stinks is our clients who have been using CRMs for like 3, 4, 5 years have these lists of contacts that they met at trade shows years prior, and they like to reach out to them. We help them reach out with like trade show campaigns when those shows are coming up to say, hey, stop by our booth, yada, yada, yada. We're still doing that. And the way that we're doing that is kind of with campaigns that are like, hey, normally I'd be seeing you in, Kentucky for the show this year, but we're not going to be there, missing out on some barbecue. But hey, here's kind of our rundown of all the resources you're missing. We build a nice page on the site with videos, blog posts, media that are kind of like the TLDR of stopping by their booth, and create a digital experience with the mind of being helpful. So not just, sliding in and being like, hey, get on the phone with me, but saying, hey, here's some resources. Here's what we think will genuinely be helpful for your business at this time. Sometimes using those one-to-one video touch points, but that's a really great way to kind of dust off old contacts that we've been seeing some success with, that I want to recommend that to everyone, because we've just seen such good success with that so far.
Oh, 100%. And if you take that information that I gave earlier, remember the number is 22.
Yeah.
Right? 22 points of contact digitally between meeting the person and getting the business. Now, here, like a lot of times people go, Ira, what the hell am I going to talk about 22 times? That's a lot of stuff. Well, this is one of those 22 that can it's a no-brainer. Yep. Like we met you. You even could send an anniversary graphic. Yep. I mean, you can make it fun. Like, hey, yep, we met a year ago. Where does the time go? Like, we've been on this show for 56 minutes. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
I mean, time flies. So that's something that you can. Great point. Okay, so we're gonna keep going with the slide deck here. There's so much in here. It is amazing. But why try digital content? It's inbound marketing is digital content. So what that means is you're not answering the phone. This is not you responding to an email or text or something. This is you reaching out. Okay.
Yeah.
So what to do? It says fill your site with educational content. This is website. Absolutely. Produce long form premium content like a white paper. So this is where you're showing off your expertise in an area. Very good. Promote your content on social media. Amen. How it works: answering their question and being a resource for their pain points. Your company stands out amongst competition. It gives your sales team a lead and their contact information. It gives them a soft way to open the conversation 100%. Talking about your long form there now. Yeah. And promoting your content on social media, again, it gives you opportunities for those touches, those digital touches. And
absolutely.
To see you as like, I'm Holly. I'm not just Protocol 80. Okay. I am Protocol 80, but I'm also Holly. Yeah. So if I'm talking to Josh and Protocol 80, even though I'm still talking to Protocol 80, I'm talking to Josh a little bit different. He looks more like me than you do, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's a really great way to kind of elevate your business, but also yourself, is we really recommend having personal LinkedIn profiles and your company LinkedIn profiles, where if you're producing blog posts and video content, like, yes, of course, your company page is going to share all that stuff and should be, but it's really great if you as an individual share that resource and give your spin on it. Like, did you work on that project that was being blogged about? Add your unique insight in there. Don't just be like cross spamming everyone in your mutual company's network, but kind of add your insight unique to your position type of thing.
I just highlighted this right here. Downloadable content is 100% a great idea. And actually, I'm failing at this right now on 2 of my websites, because I have like the videos and stuff, you play them, but you don't really download them. I don't have like a PDF where they'll go. Yeah. They might take some of my pictures and copy them and save them, but it's not like what you're talking about here. But this is really, really smart to do. So if you guys are reading this and you're like me right now, Bowman Digital Media, and you don't have this stuff, check this out. Rewind the tape, hit the pause button, read this slide. It's really good information.
Yeah, that's kind of the cornerstone of an inbound strategy. That's how we generate the leads, is through those pieces of content that are genuinely helpful. Think of something that maybe your leads would want to print out, what they would want to share with their audience, something that makes them want to download it. It's not just like, here's how great my company is. Maybe it's like you mentioned earlier with the charts of alloys. Maybe it's something like that. And so you're still getting the lead, and they're not a sales lead yet, they're a marketing lead, but they're at least in your database.
Yeah, or let's say you're a manufacturing company and you make something that goes well with metal. and you create a white paper, and in it you have like instruction chart with photographs to show people like this is how you act. Because a lot of times the trouble people have is they can't visualize it. So if you can help them see it, like, okay, I have this headache, yes, and you're saying that your product resolves the headache, but I don't understand how because I don't understand it. But then you show me how it works, white. So it's not really like just a sales catalog or brochure, but it's an actual like this is a white paper. I can learn something here. And I had a guy who thought you couldn't weld aluminum, and I made a video and I showed him how you could take this arc welding rod and bead together aluminum, and he was like, "That is amazing." So, anyways, you could do something like that.
Yeah.
And now you're not selling, you're offering a solution for them.
Yeah.
Plus, when they download, I'm assuming you're giving them some type of incentive to respond, right?
Of course. Yeah, definitely.
There we go. Educational content. Look, educational content is the new hottest thing because people don't want to be sold. They want to be educated. In fact, one of my clients, his name is Joseph Stepke. He's AKA Joe the Finance Guy. That's his name, right? His hashtag is be educated, not sold.
Yeah.
That's what people want. So if you've got educational content, you are doing yourself a big service.
Yeah. Whenever I explain to people like what inbound is and what we do, it just kind of sounds logical when you explain the process, right? So you fill your website with content that answers the questions and the problems that your leads are having. You know what these problems are because you're already doing great. You're working with your customers. You just get those resources digital. You're pulling them in. You know you're helpful. You know you're a good company, and you're going about it the right way. You're giving away all this stuff for free. It attracts people to you. You put out that good educational energy to the world. Like from a data standpoint, from like a Google standpoint, yes, like of course you're going to sort through the rankings. But as a human being, you're attracted to someone who's giving you something, like you mentioned with commenting and interacting on LinkedIn. Like you want to talk to someone who's actually giving you interaction back, not just someone who's constantly spamming you all the time.
Do you want a gasp worthy moment? Let's do this. I'm gonna switch this for just a second. I get some messages that if I got from another person, it would be spam. But because I know the person sending it and we've built a relationship, even though I'm on their MailChimp list, I know what it is. They know what it is, of course. But I'm getting it from them. I don't hit the unsubscribe button. I'm not even reading. I'm just going to be honest. I'm not even reading them. I know what it is. I know why they're sending it. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. I actually like it because it helps keep them top of mind. But I know that wasn't written for me. I get it because I'm educated on this. I know what's going on. But it doesn't bother me at all. It's like if I ask you to define a weed, most people don't know the definition of a weed. But a weed is any plant that's in any location that you don't want it. It isn't about the type of plant because a rose bush or a palm tree is likely not considered a weed to most people. But I'll tell you what. I have some palm trees growing in my front yard right now that are weeds because they're not where I want them. I didn't plant them. They're seedlings coming up. And I have a couple of rose bushes that I've tried to eradicate because they're in the wrong spot. And they're still growing. They're weeds. Same thing with content. If you send somebody content, whether it be a direct message, whether it be an email, whether it be a text message, it could be the exact same message from somebody else. And again, it would be considered by me spam because I don't know them. I don't have that relationship. But Holly, you send it to me, and all of a sudden, because now you've been on my show for just over an hour, and I feel like we've become friends on this show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now it's not bothering me. It's just me remembering you. Like, hey, I have a client that doesn't quite fit me, or a prospect that doesn't quite fit me. You know who could help them? Holly. And I'll send them your way now.
Awesome.
That's what's kind of cool. So anyways, I want everybody to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
All this stuff that we're talking about, don't forget the most important part of this is the relationship building. If you're not building relationships, you are wasting your time.
And that relationship building has to start on the right foot. Like to your point, where like that relationship building comes from someone finding your website and getting their question answered and that being a satisfying experience. That relationship doesn't necessarily come from, you know, just buying an email list and spamming people. Has that worked in the past? Sometimes, yes. Is it the best way to start a relationship with someone? I think we can all agree probably not.
Let me talk about that for 1 second, because I get this all the time. Like, why wouldn't I just go buy a list of 10,000 people and spam them? Right? That's what people want to do. I'm like, look, will you get something out of the 10,000 if you do that? You probably will. But how many of those are now negative experiences that they will never, ever, ever do business? You're going to have more of those and you won't even know it. Then,
also, I've seen clients buy lists and get nothing. Like, and it totally just flop. Like, I would say it works 1 in every 100 times. So depending on how big that list is, it might totally flop for you. It's just unfortunate when there's better avenues for marketing that, you know, sometimes companies have to resort to that.
I wish people would consider the opportunity cost, right? So the real world mining of that list is it probably will net you some business. I'm assuming you know what you're doing, but it's going to also cost you something, and it's probably going to cost you more than you realize eventually, because people tend to remember the negative experiences much more than the positive experiences. So if you're out there blasting people indiscriminately, just blasting
strangers,
you have no relationship. They don't know you. They don't care about you. And it's if that's all they're getting, then what you have done is you have sullied
your good name.
Good name, right? And people will remember that. And guess what? They might actually start to tell others, like, "Hey, you know who I wouldn't use? These guys are spamming me all the time."
Also,
so let me ask you a question.
Oh, sorry.
I just want to know. Hey, Holly, whose lead is it anyway?
So this section is all about the importance of having a service level agreement between sales and marketing. So like this is also a really common trap that people fall into. So you've set up your beautiful content, you're getting leads from your educational resources, and then the first thing sales wants to do is pick up the phone and call them. And
they want to hit it and ask for that order right now.
Yes. And the problem is that person's like, hey man, I just downloaded a metals chart. And like, I felt pretty good about your company because you were giving me all these resources for free, but now you're kind of bugging me. You're asking for too much. So it's really important to kind of define those lines in the sand early so you're not stepping on each other's toes, but then also understanding like the parameters of an MQL, a marketing qualified lead, and an SQL, a sales qualified lead, and why those two should rarely intersect.
Thank you for explaining the acronyms, because that was going to be my next question.
Course.
But let's park here for just 1 second. We're getting to the end of the show, so we're not going to have time to do much else. But this is so critical for people to understand. If someone comes to your website and they download a paper, they don't necessarily want to have anything else to do with you. They just wanted that information. So you've got to tread lightly here. I worked for a company that would start sending a message every 2 days. And it was annoying. And it actually, again, it was sullying the name. It's like, you guys are actually hurting us, where I don't even want to, like, I don't want to put my prospects in your CRM because I know you're going to start spamming the crap out of them. And that's going to turn them off. You got to like slow roll that out. There's a fine line, in my opinion, between having a little bit of good follow-up.
Yeah.
And reaching out and trying to build that relationship, but like it's like an olive branch in a sense, right? So sending out that just gentle touch, going, hey, we are interested in learning more about you and seeing if we could talk with you. So that's appropriate.
Yeah.
You got to be careful how you do it. Now, what would be really good? Again, I'm gonna shut this thing down. Here's a good thing. Okay, so you have a white paper that is on your website that's downloadable by people. That shouldn't surprise you that people download it. You should know that's going to happen.
Right.
The marketing team is going to come up with a process. Okay, once they download it, here's our next action item. We're going to send out something that we've thought about because, that's the next step. It's easy. They download it, we respond. If they don't download it, there's nothing they needed, right? So that's the first step. The first step would be to respond. Now, they could respond a couple different ways to that then. Interested, not interested, give me more information. Hey, I'm interested, but not right now. Call me back. And so, then you start to splinter off into all these little avenues, and you should have a diagram, obviously, that maps out each possibility. Now that's advanced marketing in a sense. I hate to say that's advanced because really it's kind of basic, but for a lot of people that's advanced because they've never thought of it. But if you have a plan for that, and then you have a point in that process where you go, okay, now, customer service, our marketing team, we're gonna handshake this over to sales. There should be a natural point where that happens, and it should be agreed upon. That's why I love the question that you said, hey, whose lead is this anyway? And it's an SQL or an MQL, because you have to know how to handle it. Like, let's say the guy downloads or the girl downloads the document, and you reach out to them and they say, hey, I'm really interested in this. Can you have a sales rep call me? I want to buy it. Well, now there's an agreed, okay. They've thrown up the, hey, I'm hot and heavy, signal. So let's go. Game one. But they might also respond saying, hey, I'm good for now. Follow up. I'd like for someone to reach out to me in, you fill in the blank, next quarter, next year, whatever. Now you can have a drip campaign that's like once every 90 days, you send them something just to keep top of mind. You know what I mean? But you're not bothering the crap out of them. Don't send something to them every 33 days, guys. That's just, that's ridiculous.
I would just want to add some nuance to what I said earlier, just because I don't want it to come off as overly critical or not factual, where I said, sales shouldn't be following up. I just wanted to clarify that. I mean, that shouldn't be sales being aggressive with a pitch. It's totally fine if the sales and marketing team have agreed on a soft touch, like you mentioned, by the sales team, because that's what makes more sense for your team resource wise. If, salesperson B responds to this type of lead because that's where their expertise is, as long as that touch, like you mentioned, is marketing driven, you've agreed on it beforehand, it's resource based, it's helpful. I didn't mean for that to sound like, oh, everyone needs to have these giant marketing teams and sales can never get involved. Not that at all.
I think what you said is 100% correct. The salesperson can do the work, but it needs to be a marketing activity, not a sales activity. Or at least, let me put it this way. Again, every touch should have some type of rapport building going on. Even when people send you something, hey, I'm not interested, I believe a response is appropriate, and it should be an olive branch towards, hey, no problem. We completely understand. We'd love to get to know you better. Anytime you'd like to have a conversation, here's, your territory rep. They would love to come out and meet with you. So that can be kind of a salesy response, but it's a good response because you're letting them know you're not going to just blast them with crap. And you look, if your business is going out of business in the next 90 days, you have bigger problems than this one lead, right? So, you always have to think about it from the long game. I don't like it when people get panicked and like, we need to do this blitz to get these sales right now. Like, you shouldn't have let yourself get in that position. Saying that doesn't mean you're not going to find yourself in that position, and you might have to do some things short term to get some immediate sales. I'm not saying that. I'm saying from a planning perspective, let's always think long term, long game. We're playing chess, not checkers, and sometimes it's 5, 6, 22 moves down the board. Right? Okay. Definitely. So you could have your sales team. Look, almost every place I ever worked with sales, we had some type of division in the team, the sales team. It was either by vertical market, which I actually think is smarter, and sometimes it was just by geography. So it was always one or the other, right? You're the specialist in hospitals. Your area code is, 90210. You want to be in Beverly Hills, whatever, right? But you can be wherever you want to be, right? But that's so like, if you get that inbound lead, hey, whose lead is it anyways? We're still answering that question. And it comes from a person that works at a medical company, and you've got a medical vertical market sales rep. Completely appropriate to give that lead to that rep at that point. But your first step is this, your second step is that, and you play it out based on responses. Or it could be, again, like my area code is 92555. So you have a sales rep who's assigned to 92555. You're in the Inland Empire, and so that lead comes in, and you say, okay, Julia Smith is going to be your sales rep. Whenever, Ira, you are interested in learning more about us, or we can be of any help, she's your main point of contact. I think that is smart.
Yep.
If your first response is, here's a quote on our product, or here's a brochure with all our prices, let me know which one you're interested in, you guys are making a mistake. Hire Holly to help you figure out a better way to do it.
Well, I was just going to add to that too, like you're so on the nose. And then if I could just add anything to optimize it, even just a touch further, is like, we always recommend if someone responds and they're like, hey, I'm not interested right now. Like you mentioned, that can be a great transition into a relationship down the line, but also always keep in the back of your mind, like, I want to give something. So stalk them a little, do a little research on what their company is and does, try and do your best to suss out pain points and send them a resource that you have that you think might, suit them. And I get that, like, the rebuttal to that is like, okay, but isn't that just as spammy? You want me to read your blog? Yes and no. I think there's a way where you can phrase it where you say, hey, totally understand. I wanted to leave you with this resource because I thought it might be interesting to your company. If you have any questions down the line after reading it, let me know. Otherwise, I'll get out of your hair. And that's kind of a nice way to end that relationship on a high note where you're giving them something. Even if they never open it, they never read it, you're not asking to take anything. You're like, let me leave you with this gift.
Yeah, it's a gift. You're seeing there, if you craft the message right, which is that's the sales function, is to figure out how to phrase it in the right way. Like, there's certain things I would never say, but there's certain things I would do. But I will say this. Remember, 22 points of contact. You've got 1 or 2 now already in the book. So you're on your way. So even if you just send them like a nice, hey, thank you very much, completely understand. You've got your signature that has your email and maybe a video in it, like you know what I mean? There's little tools and tricks like that you can implement. Now there's this thing called the drip campaign.
Yeah.
So maybe in a month, 30 days later, 15 days later, whatever you deem appropriate, back out. It's not a MailChimp now. This can just be part of the action plan. Okay, for every rejection we get, 15 days later, we're going to send a response with something, like you said, plus it gives us time to look it up, which is great, right? We can do it without time. So now we're going to do that homework. In 15 days, we get a little pop-up notice from what? Our CRM, God bless us, because we've set up these filters, right? So it reminds us to do it. Hey, today's the day that I need to send Holly that email, and in it, I'm going to give her this little resource that I think could help her. And so now it's not even a response to the initial rejection or their negative, turn you down, like, hey, I don't want any more information right now. Now it's, a couple touches later, and it's a couple weeks later, and they might have had time to think, you know what? Maybe now they're starting to second guess that. Hey, maybe I shouldn't walk away. Maybe this company showed me they're not going to spam me to death. They're not trying to browbeat me. They're really not trying to hard sell me anything. In fact, this person just tried to help me even after I told them I'm not interested. Right? Here's a gift. It's winning. Okay, let's do this because we're already over our allotted time.
Sorry. I told you.
I knew we were going to go long. We talked about it in the green room, but here's what I want to do. Maybe just in the next 5 minutes, let's wrap up, though.
Yeah.
I want to give you an opportunity, open floor.
Okay.
Talk about we could have already touched on it, or maybe something we haven't even talked about. Anything you like. Just some final nuggets for the audience. And then again, guys, if you have not connected with Holly, please send her a connection request. Let her know you saw her on the show. Don't hit on her and don't spam her. I appreciate it.
Awesome. I'm trying to think of what some immediate final nuggets are.
Did I stump you, Holly? That is amazing.
A little bit. I think we went through a lot. I think one of the things that we didn't talk about, but we talked about briefly in the green room, was that kind of contingency plan for trade shows. So just circling back to this a little bit without, exhausting it to death. There's definitely, I would recommend creating a landing page on your site that kind of has all of the info that you would want them to have, maybe a downloadable, all that kind of thing. You can run PPC campaigns specific to it. I know that companies allot a certain amount of budget for trade shows. It can be great to start PPC campaigns with specific objectives surrounding that.
Hang on, time out. PPC for everybody watching.
Oh, sorry, pay-per-click advertising.
Your Google ads, your LinkedIn ads, your Facebook ads, your YouTube ads.
Sorry, I get on a roll. So I think that's definitely one thing that's top of mind for us right now. And another thing CRMs, as you've touched on. And also, I think a question that I get asked a lot that might be worth talking about quickly is just in terms of like, okay, cool, I watched the podcast, I've seen your webinars, you're talking about content. Where do I start? Like, how do I begin to think of
Oh my gosh.
blog? Like, what does that look like? So there's kind of a couple different approaches you can take. One we talked about earlier with starting with your sales team. What are the FAQs they're getting? Answer that. Inherently, there's probably going to be some keywords in there that you didn't even know were keywords that you'll fall into just because you're solving for user experience and relevancy first, and that's always a good thing. And then the second thing is, of course, to look for keywords, look for that kind of thing. We mentioned SEMrush. There's lots of really great keyword tools out there that you can use. And then another thing to keep in mind is just writing about a certain topic can be really great, even if it feels ad nauseum. As Ira mentioned, you can start to link all of your content together. You can start to kind of create a little space for yourself, and then that ladders itself really nicely to a downloadable piece
Hang
where
on.
you can gather leads.
You not only can link your content together, you should.
You should. Yes.
Look, like I was talking about with Holly in the Green Room, this is going to go on YouTube. I'm going to put the active link to Protocol 80 in the description of that video. Why? Because if somebody watches it, I want to help recommend them. But guess what? YouTube's owned by Google. And that's a really great backlink on a high domain authority site. So now we're creating, I call them circular references. So the internet is, it used to be known as the interweb, right? The World Wide Web. And that's how it works. Like this takes you there. And if you missed it there, but you found it here, it takes you back to there. And, it's stronger. It's like those sequoia trees, those redwood trees. I was just watching. Oh, it was at church. I was going to say, I heard something. They were talking about, these trees are 30 feet wide, in circumference, and they're, hundreds of feet tall, but they have really shallow roots. But the reason why they're so strong is underneath the surface, they interlock. So if you have a DA that's like 10, but you can start getting these other sites that are 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s to start referencing you. Now, guess what? You're tying your fortunes to theirs, and it's helping to keep you secure.
Totally. Yeah.
So, all right. Sorry, I had to cut it.
No, you're good. And then the only other thing I wanted to talk about is if you are in the manufacturing space and you are interested in more resources, my colleague Josh and I were both selected to speak at FabTech, the conference in the fall in Chicago, and that's in September. And then before that, we're doing a webinar series through FabTech in July as well. That's July 14th. So if you're interested in kind of, FabTech obviously has a lot of great manufacturing organizations that they're associated with as a show, and we'll be speaking there as well. Both of our topics surround creating action plans with marketing, so we're going to try and do some really great hands-on stuff, send you away with some nice worksheets and things like that. Not to do any shameless plugging, but it felt like the time for some shameless plugging.
There is no shameless plugging here. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you build your visibility and grow your network. I'm actually disappointed. It doesn't look like we get any connection. Now, you might have their connection request, you just haven't accepted them yet, but it doesn't look like that number's changed. So.
Oh, no, I haven't. Honestly, I have to say, we're in Bradford, Pennsylvania, which is a very small town, and our internet here leaves a lot to be desired. So if I try and have LinkedIn up and do this at the same time, I'm going to look like I'm filming this on a potato, and I'm going to be super glitchy. So I will hop on LinkedIn right after this and go accept all of those connection requests. And thank you guys.
I just want to make sure I didn't fall down on the job, because I'm like, wow.
No, I'm sure you didn't. I'll circle back with you after. I'll send you a message and let you know.
469 before we started, but I didn't see any changes there. So I want to make sure I haven't lost all my luster in this fine. All right, Holly, if you guys have not connected with her, again, do me a favor, send her a connection request. Just let her know you saw her on the show. If you're interested in that webinar, it's coming up in July, or you want to visit with them at the trade show in Chicago in September.
Yep.
She'll send you the information. Just ask her about that in the message. But again, please do not spam. Holly, don't spam anybody. Nobody wants to. Right? If you take the time, look, this is my parting thought for the day for all of you. And I shared this in the Influencer Summit that I'm a part of today. You can watch that for free. Send me a message. I'll send you the link. Okay? You watch that. You got like 20 hours left that you can watch it for free. Okay? So get on it. What is it? It's teaching you how to grow on LinkedIn or wherever you want to grow, right? I have hundreds of thousands of followers all over social media. So I teach you how to do that for free today. in that. Some, anyways, but one of the things I teach is this idea of stop selling in the comments and the DMs. It's not the time and place for it. What you want to do is build that relationship. If you can get people to know how much you care, then they will be interested in what you do and naturally desire, if they can, to work for you. But even more, I'll just tell you from Bowman Digital Media, 99.9% of my business, I don't advertise at all. I've never spent a single cent on advertising. However, 99.9% of my business comes from referrals. People say, hey, you need a photographer? Ira does that. In fact, here's my camera right here, right? I use a Canon EOS 90D. Okay, that's what I record with. So I could come out and shoot. I've got a drone. I do drone recording too. So, but I don't advertise for that. You know what happens? Someone makes a post and says, hey, we need a photographer. And then somebody I know says, hey, who's a good photographer? It's that Ira guy. Because I treat people like people. So if you treat people like people and don't treat them like a potential prospect, then you can educate them. Remember, we're coming back to everything that we've already talked about. Educate them in the posts and in your comments on what you do. Give those white papers, those downloadable white papers, which I'm failing on right now. Just full disclosure. Do that, and that'll help you. And then don't browbeat them. Don't get like you're a rabid dog when a lead comes in and you just slobber all over them.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
She was teasing me last night. Don't slobber on me, honey. She doesn't even like it, and she does love me. You know what I mean? So nobody wants to be slobbered on. Treat them like a person. Respect their request to get the information that you're offering for free without making them feel like now they're obligated to buy something.
Yep. Okay. Definitely.
Holly, you work for Protocol 80. You've been a great guest. Thank you very much. Again, guys, if you missed any of this show and you want to watch it, you can watch the full thing. We ran live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. This will live forever on Marketing Mondays page of Bowman Digital Media. I'll put that up right now, just in case you guys aren't familiar with my website. It's bowmandigitalmedia.com. So go there. I have a tab called Marketing Mondays. If you want to read the transcripts, because there was something we said that you actually want to absorb better and you want to read it, go to the blog. This takes me usually about 24 hours to get that blog up, but I'll have the transcript of the show there with an active backlink to Protocol 80's website if you want to go over and visit them. And then we also will be on Anchor and Spotify if you want to catch the audio only version. So
awesome.
Holly, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This has been fun.
Bye, guys. We'll see you again every Monday. Marketing Mondays with Ira Bowman starts 11 a.m. Pacific. That's 2 p.m. Eastern. You can time adjust for wherever you are. Thank you all for watching. I couldn't do this without you. I appreciate you very much. Have a great week, everybody. And don't forget content, and more content. Keep it professional. Keep it polite. Don't sell them the pretend. Bye, everybody. BowmanDigitalMedia.com.